thought I would share with you one of my favorites, if not my all-time favorite Portuguese dessert. This is actually a dessert that's made in the islands of the Azores. It's very specific to that area. As a matter of fact, if you go to Portugal on the mainland and you mention Malassadas, which is the name of these Portuguese donuts, they will look at you like they don't know what you're talking about. So this is very indicative of island life, and it's a favorite recipe of most Portuguese people that come from the Azores. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make Malassadas, which is very much like the Canadian beaver tail donuts. So in order to make this recipe, for a recipe we're going to need 3.5 cups of flour. We're going to need 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, a pinch of salt. We're going to need 3 eggs, the zest of half a lemon, maybe a bit more. We're going to need 1.5 cups of milk. We're going to need 1/2 cup of warm water, and that's to proof 1 tablespoon of yeast plus a teaspoon of granulated sugar. We're also going to add another tablespoon of flour to that mixture. We're going to need a teaspoon of lard, 3 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to need some oil to fry our malassadas or our donuts in. And for tools, we're going to need a large bowl. We're going to need a little pot to warm up our milk, and we're going to need some granulated sugar and some cinnamon in order to toss our malassadas once they're fried. So I'm not that familiar with traditional Portuguese recipes, so I thought I would bring in an expert, that being my sister-in-law, to help me make these malassadas, which are my sister-in-law Grace, and she is going to help me make these beautiful Portuguese donuts. To get started, we've got all our ingredients laid out. In recipe, what are we going to start with first?
Making the yeast.
Okay.
You take all the dry ingredients, put it in a little bowl.
So we've got 1 tablespoon of dry active yeast and 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar. Are we adding a tablespoon?
A tablespoon of flour.
And 1 tablespoon of flour. And this is just white, all-purpose flour. Okay.
You add the warm water.
So we've got our stuff mixed up. If you can mix that up, and then I'll just add the water. So we're just going to mix those dry ingredients, and then we're going to add 1/2 cup of warm water.
You put this aside while you do the rest.
Okay, so we're just going to leave this off to the side until it's fully proofed. And next, what are we going to do?
The next step, you're going to warm up the milk.
Okay.
With the butter and the lard.
Next, we're going to take, we've got 1.5 cups of milk, and we're just going to pour in a little pot. Okay.
You add the butter and the lard.
3 tablespoons of butter. And 1 teaspoon of lard. Yep.
So now you just warm it up, don't bring it to a boil.
Okay. And melt the butter and
until it's
everything
melted,
together.
yes.
Alright, so we're going to go to the stove and just warm
now
we've got our milk with butter and lard on low. So our milk is warmed, and we're just allowing the butter to melt right through. We don't want to overheat the milk because we want to avoid it cooking the eggs when we mix the two together. So we're just going to let that sit and let the butter melt. Our warmed milk with melted butter, and you don't want to overheat the milk because we are adding eggs and you don't want your eggs scrambled. So a great test is if you can put your finger in and hold it without it burning, that's the right temperature. Let me get a cloth. Okay, so we've got our yeast that has proofed, we have our melted butter with warm milk. So what's the next step?
You're going to start adding the sugar to the bowl.
So we're going to add our 3 tablespoons of sugar.
Add the eggs.
And our eggs are at room temperature, which also, I'm sure helps
Makes it,
incorporate with the warm
it
milk.
does, yeah, it should always be room temperature. Salt,
Just a pinch of salt.
according to taste, half a teaspoon.
Yeah. That was a little bit less, so I'll just add a little bit more salt.
And
Okay.
zest of lemon.
And the zest of a lemon.
If you don't want it too strong, you can do just about half of a lemon.
Now, Grace, you were telling me that in the islands, you can either use the zest of the lemon or the zest of the orange.
Yes.
So that's
Just a
nice.
preference.
So I guess different areas, different islands have their own little specialty secrets.
Right. Well, sometimes even in the same island, there's different ways all over the place. This is just a basic.
Yeah.
Easier.
When do people normally make the Malassadas?
It's mostly it's done around Carnival, which is like a Mardi Gras
Oh,
in
okay.
February. But anytime there's a festival in any town,
Yeah.
people make malassadas.
Or anytime you've got a hankering for a really delicious donut, this is outstanding tasting. I think you're going to really love it. So now we're going to just beat it together.
Just beat that together for a minute
Okay.
to blend everything.
How's that, Grace?
It's all blended, that's good.
Okay.
You're gonna add your proofed
Yeast.
yeast.
So you can see that our yeast is totally nice and thick and it has bloomed.
Yeast.
Okay.
Give it a little mix before adding the milk.
What are we going to do next?
You add your milk,
Okay. All of it at once?
all of it at once. And again, give it a good mix.
Thank you. So we're just mixing to incorporate everything. So now it just looks like a milky eggnog kind of texture.
Yeah. At this point, you're gonna remove that mixer
Okay.
and replace it with the dough one.
So we're gonna add our dough hook. Are we doing all our kneading with the machine?
Yes.
Oh,
It's a
great.
small amount, so it fits and it's easier.
So Grace, how many malassadas or donuts are we going to get approximately?
Average size, approximately, they say about 18.
Okay.
If you want them smaller, you get a few more.
Right. No, we want them big.
Want them big?
Okay, so now we're adding 3.5 cups
3.5
of flour.
cups of flour, yeah. So
Do we have to like sift it or anything, or?
No, it's fine. Just 1 cup at a time
Okay.
and mix it slowly. Okay, we say 3.5 cups of flour, but sometimes different flours work differently. So you might find you need a little extra at the end, but you
Okay.
just go along and see.
Well, we'll show the texture of the dough, how it's supposed to be, and then, yeah, I would imagine that the type of flour and maybe the weather, the humidity, that kind of thing might change your texture of your dough. So this is just like it's starting out very wet, but it's incorporating the flour.
And I would lift that up to put the next one.
Okay.
Okay,
Starting to,
blend in.
yeah, turn into a nice dough.
You may
Yeah.
wanna scrape down the
I
sides.
think we do. So we've added, so that's 3.5 cups. And how long are we going to beat this until it's sticky?
Until you can see the texture, yeah.
Okay. Let me grab the camera and I'll show you what the dough looks like when it's. Now we've attached our hook, and we're just going to mix until it turns into a sticky dough. Now our dough is starting to take some shape. So we're just going to beat it for a few minutes, and I'll show you what it should look like. It's been 3 minutes, and you can see that the dough is sticky and it has a lot of elasticity to it. So now we're just going to put it in a larger bowl and we're going to set it off to the side to let it rise for about 2 hours. So we're just putting it into a large bowl, and you can see how the how stretchy that dough is. That's going to give us a really beautiful, chewy malasada. So we're going to cover it with a terry cloth and let it sit for a couple of hours. Let's take a little peek at our dough. Wow. That's a beauty. So look at our dough. It's almost right to the top, Grace. So what's the test? What are we looking for?
They say if you touch the top and it goes in, it's almost ready to do it.
So it's not creating an indent yet?
It's starting to. Let's leave another half an hour.
Okay, it's been almost 2 hours, and look at our dough. It has risen almost to the top. So Grace is going to do the test. It leaves a depression in the dough, which means
it's ready to fry.
It's ready to fry. All right. So we've got about 3 inches of oil. I'm just using a wok because it's convenient. We've got a little sieve to lift up the donuts, and we've got our cinnamon and sugar.
Need some oil to wet your hands before taking the dough so it doesn't stick to your hands.
That's a good tip. So our oil is hot, and we've got a little sample tester in there. And it's only taken about 5 to 6 minutes to bring it up to temperature. So now we've got our little dish with oil in it in order to moisten your hands before lifting the dough because it's very sticky. So Grace is going to show us how to do it.
You open sort of a little bit more at the center, stretch it to the sides, and drop it in.
Wow, so you're just kind of doing an abstract donut.
Yeah, sometimes they'll come out nice and round, sometimes they're not as round, but that is the Malassadas way.
And be very careful because the oil is very hot. Oh, Grace is dropping another. Don't stay attached. Look. Wow. My mouth is watering already.
It'll cook a little more.
Who needs dinner when you've got dessert? Grace is going to fit one more into the pan. Wow. So fantastic. Oh yeah. Hey, that guy is sticking to his neighbor. Let go, let go. So how long do you leave it before you take it out?
Well,
this one looks a little
that side
golden.
is nice and golden when they like that because you want the dough to cook through.
Okay.
So
you want a deep golden. Whoa, look at that.
So that side is quite nice. That one's not done yet. This one is
fabulous.
as well.
First. So it looks like that one is ready.
This one is ready
for our mouths. And then we're just putting it, we've got a cookie sheet lined with a paper bag and some paper towel just to absorb some of that oil.
So this is good. 2 people doing it at the same time, so one can get the hands dirty dipping it, the other one turning, flipping them over.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They're looking good. When do we put the sugar on them?
When we finish, we'll just roll them all up.
So we've switched, and I've actually grabbed the tongs to help us flip these over. It's done.
Yes.
You actually have to move kind of fast.
It's good to have 2 people because that way one can just concentrate on stretching them. It's nice if they're a little thinner than...
Okay, so I am going to try. Oh, I understand why you need the oil.
So you can slide off your hands.
Yeah. And I also understand why you did the old stretchy, because that's part of the shape. So they say if you manage to get a little hole in the center, that is good. Oh yeah, you need 2 people to do this. It's very hard for one person now to use the flipper as you're going along. I can't believe we're actually done. It is now 6 o'clock and we've got more malassadas than we started off with this recipe. The recipe is for 18. We actually got 16. And it's going to depend on the size of the malassadas. If you make them bigger, you're going to get fewer, obviously. And if you make them smaller, you're going to get more. So this is a recipe that definitely you can use 2 people for. As you can see, it's a little bit challenging deep frying and dipping the donuts as you're going along, or the malassadas. It is a great tip to dip your fingers in the oil, because what you want to do is just pick up a small amount of dough and allow the dough to kind of stretch and drip off your fingers into the hot oil.
You can open it a little bit to the sides so that it cooks evenly around. So in some ways you'll get, sometimes you get a little hole like this, cooks evenly around.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't, depending on the dough and the way it falls
So
in the oil.
this one actually, so when we were talking about beaver tails, this one actually has more of a shape of a beaver tail, but these are really, really delicious donuts. So the way that we are going to serve them is, Grace, you can pick, I'll just pick a small one, is you're going to take your donut, and we've got our sugar, half a cup of sugar with a heaping tablespoon of cinnamon. So you can see how nicely the sugar all sticks to the donut. And Grace, how long do these donuts keep?
2-3 days. If you have too many, keep them in a freezer without the sugar in a bag.
Oh, that's a
You
good
can
idea.
freeze them, and then when you're ready to eat, take them out a few hours before, and then roll them in the sugar. And
Okay, so that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So obviously we're not going to eat all these, but we went through the effort to make them, so we made extra so that we can share with friends, family, good neighbors. So let's taste them. Cheers. I love these.
I don't want no dinner tonight.
I know. They're fantastic. Let me just show you just how moist this donut is. Look at that.
Spongy
Wow.
inside.
It's fantastic. They're really
Delicious. Anytime.
they're worth the trouble to make them.
But dangerous to have around because you can't
Especially
stop.
this many. Anyways, Grace, thank you for helping me make the malassadas.
You're very welcome.
I couldn't have done it without you. Let's have a little chin chin, salud,
Salud.
to your health. And if you like this video, I hope that you try this recipe, give me a like, and if you'd like to see more content, I hope you subscribe. Until then, salud.
Salud. Cheers.
Cheers.